thing off. So here with, do you go by Dave or David?
Just Dave.
All right, here, Dave. Your email is David. So I've been calling you David. I've been telling stories about you from that, what happened the first week after you got the course and like the extra money you made on the job and all that stuff.
It's funny because like for my clients, I say David, right? Because it's professional, like but at like friend wise and like on my YouTube channel, it's Dave, it's just simple and casual, right? So
yeah.
it kind of depends.
And just because it's kind of interesting, what's your YouTube channel and how long you've been doing that for?
Yeah, BC Bushcraft. So I started it probably a good 4 years ago, I want to say now. And it's basically like wilderness survival, meets camping. So for those of people who don't know what bushcraft is, that's kind of like what you can like gauge it on. So you think like Survivor Man, you think like maybe Bear Grylls. You can combine that with modern day camping, right? And you kind of get bushcraft. So yeah, I do like overnights in the woods, like really minimal overnights where like I don't bring food. I bring like only like a knife and like just stay out overnight, like build shelters and survival videos and camping videos, all that sort of stuff. So that's what I do with my YouTube channel. That's my hobby.
How often do you go out doing that?
I try to do the overnight stuff. I would like to do more of it, but it's been a couple times a year I'd be doing overnights. But videos, like I used to try to do like one a week, but it was really hard when you're employed, like when you have an employer, right? So yeah. That's something that I plan on changing that, like because I'm kind of can gauge my own schedule now. So
yeah,
kind of are starting to change.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So I didn't know that you were an employee until this year. So how long have you been painting and as an employee, and how did you start your own thing?
My rough painting experience, like it might be a good 4, maybe just over 5, like around 4 or 5 years, say. So what happened was I kind of got like, I never like planned to be a painter. It's more like I kind of got stuck painting because I needed a job to pay bills, that sort of stuff, right? And like we moved to new location and like it was something that I could find when we got here. So what happened was like a lot of typical stories, previous employer, like it went uphill for a bit and then just started going downhill. Just things that we weren't getting along with, and like he was like he was the guy who's like, do one coat here, like skip this, skip that, like always pushing, like, just not being honest basically. And then everything would land on the employees and things like that. So in the end, like,
and this is all in Vancouver, right? You're in Vancouver?
Vancouver Island.
So, you're in Vancouver Island. Okay, yeah, got it.
So yeah, it was basically getting towards December, so like late November, let's say, and like there was like a little bit of tension between us. And what happened was I took a legitimate sick day, had a doctor's note and everything, and then he laid me off for taking a sick day.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm done. I am not like going through this like crap again. Like I'm not gonna, like, this is my chance. I'm free. Like I'm going to like go and do my own thing from here, right? So I literally had like no money, no idea like what to do, like, negative money. I didn't even have money, right? So it was like basically probably the hardest way to start in November, worst time of the year to start a painting business. Odds against me, but yeah, it was like kind of like survival mode for a couple of months, I would say.
And why did you decide to start your own painting company?
It's something that like I've always, like, I like being independent. I like doing things like myself. I like being in control of my time and stuff, like, and being a business owner is like really attractive to me. Being an entrepreneur is really attractive to me. So I just knew, like, I knew enough about painting that I'm like, I could do what he does. Like all the bosses I've had, like I could totally emulate it. I could probably do things a lot better even, right? If like they're making money how they're doing it, like I could do a better version of that.
Well, and I think, honestly, man, I think a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of people who are employed as painters are looking at the guys running the companies, and it's like a joke. And that's why I'm in business. not just with my painting business, but doing what I'm doing is like, man, the bar is so low. Like, have some integrity, take care of people, implement some good business systems, and you are ahead of 98% of the people out there who are treating people like shit and laying them off because they take a sick day.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I basically just felt like, and before that, I was with another company that just laid me off because they ran out of work, you know? And it was just like, I'm like done with this cycle of like being played around, like, and then it's like, oh yeah, like we don't have work in 2 weeks. It's like, well, what am I supposed to do with that, right?
And so how did you get some of your first jobs? So all that happened, started your own thing, and then how did a couple months go?
So I basically was just in my head decided, okay, like I'm starting my own painting company. So set up account at Sherwin-Williams type of thing, like got a few balls rolling. So like I was able to like get somewhere with it, but I didn't get insurance. I didn't have any of the other stuff. I didn't have money for that stuff at the beginning. So basically like the first job that I got, it was anyone I interacted with, that I talked to, I just said like, oh yeah, I have a painting company. Like I just declared that like I have a painting company. Like not that I'm a painter or like I worked as a painter.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I have a painting company. So this neighbor was chopping firewood type of thing, and we just got talking. He's like, oh, what do you do for work? And I was like, oh, I have a painting company. He's like, oh really? He's like, are you busy right now? I'm like, no. And he's just like, I got some painting to do at my house. So I was like, okay, cool. So quickly like Google search like how to estimate painting jobs. Like I'm like, you know, like all the stuff that like as a painter you have no idea what to do with that, right? You're like, how am I gonna come up with a number? And like that's when I came upon your video on like exterior estimating. That's literally how I found you, right? It's like through YouTube. So it's a really funny thing because like it seemed really small like when he was talking to me, right? So like I kind of like prepared a few things, like saw your video, I printed out like the exterior estimating form, which I'm still using today to like gauge on like how to estimate it, right? And I can go to this house, and this house is huge. Like it's a big house. It's like a status house, like a nice house. And I go to the front door and I'm like, okay, so like what do you want like done basically? And he's like, well, he starts walking around his house and he's like, yeah, well, you could probably give me a quote for the whole thing. And I'm just like almost like what? Like you know, like totally like just like frog in the throat type of thing, right? And like I was totally unprepared. Like it started raining. I had no umbrella. Like walking around this house, like my chicken scratch notes are like getting like washed away from the rain and stuff. Like trying to estimate like this big exterior house. And I came back and gave him a quote, and it was like it was low then, but it was still like better than what I was making like as a painter, right?
Which so, is probably is a good thing. That's usually what I tell people to do. Like, look, when you first start out, just you can do it for less. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. So like I went, showed him the quote, and he's like, okay, cool. Like, and I was like, yeah, I usually like take a deposit and stuff, right? Like,
I usually take a deposit.
And then he was like, well, I don't know if I'm comfortable. Like, I just met you and all this stuff. He's like, but I'll pay you weekly. So I'm like, okay, I can roll with that. Like, we can make a deal out of that. So this is in December now, right? We're talking. So I'm literally like trying to do exterior work in December. I'm riding the line of like what the paint's capable of. So I'm like checking whether like 2 degrees Celsius, like is it 85% humidity? Like whenever there was a gap for painting, like I was outside painting.
Nice.
Doing exteriors, right? Just literally like riding the line through that time, and like it made it so I could get through that stretch without having to find a job.
Right.
You know, like without having to like just be like, I can't do this, like and go and get employed somewhere else and then get stuck in the same position I was. So it kind of gave me just enough to get through that winter part type of thing. So.
And then fast forward, you kind of kept grabbing jobs here and there, similar ways, maybe
yeah. In there. So Craigslist was one way that I got some jobs. Craigslist is a good way to get really like lowball jobs, I would say. You know, like like people who go on Craigslist are looking for a deal mostly,
Yeah.
but when you're starting out, it's a free way to advertise, and you can't beat that.
And you can still make more doing a lowball job on Craigslist than you can working for the guy you're working for.
Oh, exactly, right? Because a painter here, like I was making like $22, $23 an hour, which is it was like for the island that's fairly high as a painter. Like most painters, it might be $17 to $20 an hour.
Yeah.
So like you go on Craigslist, like you could make 35 an hour, and you could even technically do hourly jobs. Like I did some hourly jobs at that time, just because like I was so lost in estimating. Like all of that stuff was so new to me that I was like, I don't feel comfortable, so let's do hourly. Do you feel comfortable with that? And some people were, so we did that. So yeah, I was able to get through some of the winter months like that, and kind of starting, I want to say in January is when I started doing door-to-door marketing.
Yeah.
So,
well, and then
go ahead.
yeah, just so and you ended up getting the course in like May. Is that right? Was it about May?
Yeah, it was somewhere like,
Okay.
yeah, I would say that. Yeah,
Okay.
it was a little bit later down the line. So,
all right, cool. So from like January through May, what was that like? And then what's happened kind of since then?
Yeah, so January through May, it was a struggle, and like I kind of, it was really hard for me to get numbers like right, and then also like finding work and things like that. It was kind of it was like I was on the lower end of budgeting, like kind of what you would pay a subcontractor to paint a house, right? Where that's what I was bidding the house for in a sense, right? So like I might, I bid a house, it might have been $3,400 that I bid it at, but if I had redone it now, I would have like tacked on another $2,000 to it. Yeah. And I know they would have paid it, right? Because I know them, right? Like I know them from being around them and stuff, right? But but I got a lot of, like, in the area that I am, there's a lack of painting companies that are reliable because I'm kind of in between big cities. So like no one, like it's kind of like they'll come out here, but it might cost an arm and a leg, and then they might not be showing up and stuff.
Well, it's actually one of the benefits to being in a smaller area is there's not as much competition. So your closing rates are higher. It's easier to get going with word of mouth and referrals.
Exactly.
And that's just kind of how it is. Your upside is limited, but it's almost easier in some ways to just kind of get going.
Exactly. And that's exactly how I got going, was like once I got the ball rolling, like it was a snowball. It just like once people saw me like spraying houses and like doing exterior work, like I literally had like, I would have like 6 jobs in one neighborhood because they saw me painting a house, just physically painting a house, and they saw the end product, and they're like, well, that's a guy we can trust,
Yeah.
And then like I just had a lawn sign. I had very basic, I used Vista Print, and I got some basic marketing, like business cards, just some magnets for my vehicle, and then a lawn sign. Yeah. And then everything else was just like knocking on doors and physically talking to people is how I got all my work. Just knocking on doors and physically talking to people.
Yeah. No, it's great, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so that kind of like got me to a stage where like, okay, like I'm starting to there was a point where I'm like, okay, I got a lot of estimates to do because I had done like, say the lower end of my quotes. Like I had done some jobs, and then people had seen me do those jobs, and then they wanted estimates from me. So at that time I was like, I need to figure this out, like how I'm actually gonna like make money doing this and things like that. That's when your course came in, was at that stage there. So it was a time that I needed to really like try to hone in on some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where like the story where I emailed you, where like I said, like it was a house in the same neighborhood that I did the house that was $3,400 for. It was like a house right behind it, basically. And they asked me to do a quote. So I went over there, did a quote. And, like I would get nervous. I'm like, this number's too high. Like, there's no way they're gonna buy it. Like, I'd start getting nervous, right? So you start like finding ways that you can like trim it down and stuff, right? Like, but on that job, I was like, no, like, let's just like stay firm. So like, I'll do it like just under $6,000 or something. And I went, and they're like, yeah, that's awesome. Let's go ahead. Let's do it. So like right there, it's pretty much the same size of a house. You know, there's like, yeah, there's like nuances to it, but regardless, like I would have bid it in the between 3 to 4,000 before.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm bidding it at 6,000.
I'm just curious, what gave you the confidence to do that? Because I know in your email you were like, hey man, you talked me into like trusting these prices. What was it?
It was either in the, I think it might have been a video in the course where you talk about why you shouldn't be doing low prices. Like you gave a really good explanation on why you don't want to be the low guy and why how much value there is in like being higher. And like even if you lose like X amount of jobs like from being higher, it's kind of like if you fill your schedule with a bunch of lowball jobs, then like you're not maximizing like what you could be making. So it was along that line where I had enough quotes coming up where I was like, this is the time that I can try.
Nice.
Like, I don't need work. Like I'm okay for like a month or two. Like I had some work lined up. So I'm like, this is the time that I can try and like get higher prices, right?
Nice.
So I did, and like I did not get denied my higher price. Like literally, like so I don't know, maybe like I've had like maybe 25 jobs like that I've done and that are lined up for me, and I've maybe done just like over 30 estimates. So only like maybe 6 people said no.
Yeah.
So like that's like 80-something% closing, and that was like at a certain stage I was, you know, at my high, like not the highest that I can be, but it was higher.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot higher. So
your closing rate didn't change much when you raised your prices pretty significantly.
Yeah, exactly. It's very significant. It's going from like, you know, hourly, it might be like say like from 35 to upping it to 60, you know, like if you break down to hourly or something.
Yeah.
You know, like 50, 60, like if I really hustle, maybe even 70 on some jobs, right? But like that's kind of
how much were you making when you're employed compared to how much you're making a week now?
So employed, I was making 23 an hour, which would like monthly, that's roughly about $3,000 or something like that. And so right now, like I aim for 6 profit. So
Nice.
you know, I'm pretty much like doubling, you know, like, and it's not every month, but a couple months I've doubled and gone over double what I used to bring in.
Awesome. And you don't, and you're a friendlier boss to yourself then.
Oh yeah. I go in later, you know, I take longer breaks, you know, I take days off, like I play with my kid more. Like
awesome.
There's so many benefits, you know.
How old's your kid?
Just about 18 months.
Oh, nice, man. Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, she's a handful right now, right? So
I believe it. I got one on the way. So
yeah, exactly. Congratulations.
So what other things have is there anything else that's really helped you out from the course? I mean, we haven't gone back and forth a whole lot besides that email the week after.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely my approach to estimates. So like creating formal estimate, selling at the point of the estimate.
Yeah.
Like some people are like, oh yeah, so you're gonna email me? I'm like, no, I'm gonna give you a price here, like right now, type of thing. Right? Yeah, like it's like there's, you know, you really have such an edge when you do that as well. Like it's just, I don't know, I never understood like going back and emailing and stuff. But anyways, figuring that stuff out, the course really helped me with just paperwork stuff, you know, like having like a good game plan going into estimates, a good game plan on sales, how to deal with different personality types, what happens when, like I had watched videos in your course about the sticker shock, where they're just like, oh my God, that's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
And so when I first saw it happen, I was like, I know what that is. Like, I know exactly what just happened, right? And in my head, I'm like, I didn't preemptively like kind of up my price, and yes,
it didn't anchor the price, didn't build the value. Yeah.
So, and they're like, oh, like, you know, okay, I got to think about this. Shut the door as quick as they can, you know. So there's a lot of things in the course like that they're small things, but they can be super valuable. That like it can be like thousands of dollars that you're making on small things.
Right.
You know? Like if you just recognize like a personality type that's like they want a lot of detail about things, or like some people they don't want a lot of detail, and
right,
you know, and yeah, that stuff definitely really helped me. And then just general like game plan of painting and planning and stuff, and then also giving me like something in the future to aim for.
Yeah, there's the roadmap.
Because I don't want to be a solo painter, like, you know, my life. And it was like my goal for the beginning of the year was to like be self-employed and to make more money than I did.
Yeah.
And that was it. I'm like, I'm done working for other people, and I want to make more money than I did. Yeah. So like I will do that in like basically 8 months of solid work.
Yeah.
And I plan on taking November, December, and maybe even January off.
Which is awesome. Yeah.
I'll be focusing like on my YouTube channel, on my family life. Like I'll be doing other things during that time. And then come around February, I'll just hit the streets, do some marketing. I already have like 2 jobs lined up for next year.
Wow. That's awesome.
This year. So like, so then next year for me, it's building a team. That's where things are going to really change for me.
For sure. Because at this point, you know, you mentioned a lot about the sales process, the kind of business plan and pathway, and some of the administrative paperwork, organizational stuff, which is really all you need right now, because your production management's easy because you're the production manager and the painter and running it all yourself. So you don't really need all that other stuff yet. But one quick question, just because I've had a lot of people this year. I don't know. I guess you started following my stuff in like November, December. So this year, over the last few years, I'll do a few YouTube videos here and there. This year I've been releasing one every single Thursday, plus some of these interviews and stuff like that. There's like a lot more content going out there. And I've heard quite a few people say that they're not getting the course because there's just so much stuff on YouTube. Yeah. And I'm curious what your take is as someone who saw a lot of the YouTube stuff, and then once you got into the course, what's the difference?
There's so much more value in the course than in the free stuff. Like the free stuff, like okay, like you might be able to like I did get by and like estimate a house, and like maybe like there's some definitely good tips and things like that, but you're going to seriously in the course it's laid out really simple and easy that like you can just follow it like and step by step, you know. And it only took one job for me to make money off of getting the course.
Yeah.
So it's like the people that are saying there's so much free stuff. It's like, I mean, I understand because it's hard to see, like people are really short-sighted, and it's hard to see value, like, you know, when they're on like the other side of the fence. But once they've crossed over and they've entered that zone, it's like, yeah, there's like, it could be millions of dollars worth of value.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, it kills me, man. I'm like, oh, that free stuff is out there because like I want to put it out there, and it is good, but it's almost like it almost gets in people's way a little, because it's like there's surface level and then there's the depth, and it take you 10 times as long and you get a fourth as much.
Well, because like I mean, you might be able to be a solo painter based off of the free stuff, but it's like no one really like that's not the angle for people who actually want to have a painting business, right? And that's where a lot of painting businesses like fail, is they can't get past like 1 or 2 guys working or a couple guys working. So like, you can get all the free stuff and you can have a small team and not grow and all that stuff, but like the course literally makes it super easy, shows you what you need to do, and like you don't need, like me, I started with no money. and you can easily, be successful.
Yeah. Well, so it sounds like you've got yourself a pretty good plan for the next 6 months and even next year. Is there anything, any questions you have for me or anything right now?
Yeah, well, I think like when I come into the next year, for me, it's like getting my first, like, I'm gonna put out feelers for subcontractors, but like a lot of people, and like you've done a lot of content on addressing issues of people being afraid to use
Yeah.
subcontractors, right? And I personally am afraid to use subcontractors.
Well, I'll just jump right in. So, smaller towns and rural areas, you probably want to just go with employees
Yeah,
because your big advantage is being the painter in town.
yeah, exactly.
And the way you're growing is perfect, right? You got this first job you kind of scraped together, and then you worked at like the bottom of the barrel prices, and then you started raising your prices, doing it yourself. The next step is, you're charging 50, 60 an hour now. So the next step is bring someone on with you and pay the high rates to get someone like you, but you're going to be a good boss to them at 23 an hour. So every hour that person's working, you're making 30 on their hour plus the 60 on yours. So now you're working for maybe 80 or 90 an hour. And then you bring on one more and move out and start selling more. And then you build a second crew.
Yeah. That's like what I had in my mind if I couldn't find someone that I could work with, like as far as subcontracting. And like I honestly, that was the main thing that I was scared of, is like I don't know if there isn't that in the people that might be out there, like there are some hillbilly-ish type people out there that I might not necessarily want to be subcontracting to, right? But
and I'm going to make some updates to the Painting Business Pro and Growth courses this week. I'm going to film them this week. And then one thing I'll add into this is employee crews versus sub crews. And I'll put just some basic things together in this next update to the course about employee crews, because it's really quite easy. You can set it up. I mean, I did employees for 5 years before I used subs.
Yeah.
There are benefits obviously to using sub, which is why I do. And a large part of it is the down part of the year. Like, I'd love to use employees because there's a lot of benefits to it. The hard thing is you got to lay them all off in November because our work, I mean, we're going to be doing 140,000 in production a week right now. In December, we'll literally do like 10 grand a week.
Yeah.
And that's such a massive gap. So that's so many people on payroll we'd be paying, or we'd have to let them go. And it's not like it ramps back up in November or January or February either. So that's the challenge with it. Yeah. But, most of the people I talk to in rural areas, employees seems to be the way to go. There's a YouTube video just recently with a guy.
And there's another painting company that's in the bigger city, but they work mostly island, and they actually have both. They have employees and subs. They do piece rate. They set up systems where it's it's performance based.
Exactly.
Everyone knows what piece rate is, but it's basically here, paint this room for $300, and whatever it takes you get $300.
Exactly. And you kind of with the estimating forms you quote a job at like 50 hours and you're like, okay, so we're going to do this together. We're each getting 25 hours. If we finish it in 40, that means you work 20. I'm still paying you 25 hours. If it takes us 60, still paying 25 hours. And you give them their base rate based on the hours bid for the job. And that way your incentives are aligned. And then you probably want to give them some incentive when you are no longer managing the project. You want to move into a material bonus as well. You just need to have some cross check that they're not cutting corners on materials to get their material bonus.
Yeah.
But, honestly, with your market, man, and, you could literally have 2 crews doing 10,000 a week in production, and you can put 4K a week in your pocket.
Yeah.
And, really smooth sailing, like a really nice, lifestyle business where you're doing that 8 months a year. And it's almost all referrals and word of mouth. So you can sell 10K a week, on 4 estimates a week, and run 2 great crews. So I think that's a little more the direction, and maybe slowly add a third or something. But
and that's what I was considering is when, I wanted to obviously build clients up before it, just kind of judge how much work I was going to get and stuff. Right. So in February, I'll hustle, do door to door, get some work lined up, and then exactly like you said, bring on, I was thinking 2 guys, and then or I could just start with one, but whatever.
Right.
And then because I know how to spray houses, like that can, I'll let them, work with me, do a lot of the prep work, get them to do the trim, like, and then I'll be mostly spraying, and then eventually just kind of back off of that, right? Maybe train someone that's older or has more experience to be the guy who does the spraying, and then get him to start picking up and get him to start doing, and then, maybe he can eventually be like just basically like running it, and then you bring in another guy and you just kind of, I understand how I could do that in the area that I am in. So
very slow, very steady growth, taking your time, one step at a time. Like, I think just like that's the way to go for you. It's not like, okay, I'm in this huge market, turn on a shitload of leads and go crush volume. Yours is a lot more, in some ways it's like a nicer approach, it's slow and steady and consistent, and like, well, look at it. I mean, just this year, man, you've probably doubled your income from 3 months ago on a weekly basis, right? By just raising your price. And then you can increase your income by about 40 or 50% by adding one employee. The only reason I said add one before adding two is if you add two, you're not making your hourly, it's all going to them. So you might make the same, you might even make a little less at first. You almost need 2 crews to make more if you don't do any painting.
I get it.
And that's where it's like, bring on one guy who works close with you until you've got so much work where you're like, then I'm going to maybe add a guy to that crew, and I'm going to go be a solo painter still with a crew running on the side. Then I'll add another guy to my crew, and then one more, and then I'm out.
Yeah.
So that way you're always taking a more profitable step.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, because one of the guys that I worked for, I think he had like 3 crews of 2, and then he basically just like managed them.
Yes.
And it was basically all residential repaint, mostly exterior. And it was probably a good 8 months of the year type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So I know that system work. It's not in the town I am right now, but it's like an hour, maybe 40-minute drive away or something like that, right? So I know that it's definitely, and he did an incentive thing too, where it's like, here's like this job's 50 hours. If you like crush it, do it in 30, you get your 50 hours, and he actually guaranteed us, even if we went over our hours, he would still pay us our hourly rate. So
like incentive.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a lose for us. It was only win. And I was like, well, like it works for an employee, but as an employer, I probably wouldn't do it like that. But I think like I worked hourly as a painter, and there was no incentive to work hard,
right?
Because I wasn't going to get paid more. My life wasn't going to get better or anything like that. So like coming in as a boss, I'm like, how do I fix that in my company?
Right.
I need to give them incentives. Like, they need to feel like they're growing. They get responsibility. Maybe it's like a resume builder for them, because not everyone probably wants to paint forever. So like, say like, look, like if you give me a good 5 years of being a foreman, being a man, whatever, then you got a sweet resume for another whatever you want to do type of thing, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's fun. Like, it's super exciting to be like self-employed.
To have upside. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like it was so doom and gloom before, it's like you can hardly add any more money to your paycheck and all that stuff. Nowadays it's like, well, I could just add more money to my paycheck, like just knock on some doors and figure it out, right? Or make some YouTube videos and figure it out. So
yeah. Well, I've got to pop on to my next call, man. But as that time comes around, just keep in touch. But I think you're doing things really well, man. It's exciting to see.
I appreciate it.
All right, man. Well, we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, sounds good. Bye.
All right, see you, Dave.